considered the appropriate or safe answer. And you and I talked about this in a way. I mean, I just shared with you the experience I had I got to the point where I was pursuing a kind of a career path.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a stop and go situation as much as, oh, let me go smell the roses over here, or, well, this didn't go somewhere. And it's hard. It's hard because sometimes you feel like you failed. Like maybe the outcome would have been different if it was somebody else doing it or whatever. But then if you happen to be able to look back on your life and look at it as a movie strip and not a snapshot in time, you will see that there's sort of like a universe or cosmic kind of reasoning for it. I don't know that you could explain it, but it's unavoidable that you see it. And it happened again when I turned 50, and I told you this. I mean, here I am at 50, and I go in as a guest for a radio show, and I had no interest in pursuing anything in terms of radio or anything.
Yeah.
I was just, hey, sure, I'll do this. And I go in and I sit down, and I'm doing a show, and the outcome of doing that show, completely accidental, had nothing to do with the show or what we talked about, really. I get offered an opportunity to do a radio show on baby boomers. I'm not even a baby boomer. I mean, you're even younger than I am. And so the guy who owns the radio station now jokingly refers to me as a baby boomer wannabe doing a baby boomer show. Okay?
Yeah.
And I've been doing it for 3 years. And as a result of saying yes to that, just because of shits and giggles, I end up basically now having a situation where another friend of mine comes in and says, "You're having way too much fun." A much older gentleman. Well, not much older. He's going to kill me when I said that, but older gentleman. But he says, we're having too much fun. I need to get in on this. And I said, well, the show's got my name on it. I don't know how you're going to basically come and sit on my lap and, be part of this. And he goes, well, let's do another show. So a show that I'm doing for 3 years that has really no direct monetization to what I do as a career, which is it's commercial interiors for hospitality, restaurants, wellness centers, spas. For those who are familiar with South Orange County, we spent the last year basically doing modifications and upgrades for different areas at the Monarch Beach, used to be St. Regis. I've done work at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills. I just walked yesterday through the downtown DoubleTree in LA for underutilized areas and how to basically reactivate them. So again, my business brain, my interior design sort of creative outlet brain all coming together and how we deliver on that. But here I am doing a show for 3 years called The RAAD Life, Baby Boomers. I'm talking about, hospice. My first guest was Casey Kasem's daughter, Carrie.
Oh, wow.
Talking about the abuse that her dad had, when he was in the end of his life. And shout out to Carrie, because that woman is amazing. 3 years ago, there was no rules on any of the books in any of the states where you as a child had legal right to ask for visitation of your parent. The right of visitation resided with the spouse. Because of this amazing woman, there's now at least a dozen states in the country, and her team, dozen states in the country that basically have rules on the books that allow you as a child to legally request the right to visit your parent. Imagine that. There was not in any state, you as a child could not, the spouse retained the right of visitation.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so Craig Sullivan, the gentleman I'm talking about, he says, "You're having too much fun. I want in." We end up spinning off into another show called Check Out California, which is focused solely on California hospitality, travel, and leisure industry. And we've been doing that for almost 2 years, which is directly correlated to the industry that I serve. So for saying yes to one thing led to another thing. And now today we're launching a third show called Selling the Lux Life. And we have now formed a media company. Now, in 94, I started doing interior design. Mm-hmm. In 2018, I'm basically a partner, one of the three partners in a media company. And so to your, the answer is yes. The answer is yes to things when they come to life. I was given an opportunity to be an ambassador for a custom clothing gentleman by the name of Dave Welsh. The company is called Bespoke, bespokestyle.com. And that was around the same time that I was given an opportunity to do my first radio show. And I said yes to that. And you and I joked yesterday about how I look back at that period when I was 50, 3 years ago, and I basically think I was Jim Carrey for about 6 months and was yes man, saying yes to everything that came my way.
Yeah. Now, real quick, because you talked about this when I got you on the phone earlier today. at this point in your life, you have that what you call seasoning to understand. You're understanding when you're saying yes to things because you have that seasoning. You can see the value in it already, and I would imagine you can also see when there's no value in it. And I want to talk about that a little bit because I think it's important to understand. Sure. We've got a lot of listeners that are in their 40s and 50s thinking about where we go, where they're going to go in their life, what is their last stop on their career. And I think it's important to remind them, hey guys, ladies, you have the seasoning to make good sound decisions and or take some risk and know that you're recoverable. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that. I think it's a very, very interesting point. And again, a result of introspection really, or looking back, not anything I had the wherewithal going into this. So when I said yes to the radio show, I said yes because I was curious, I said yes to the clothing thing because sure, why not? I'd love to get some clothes and have it at a discounted price, and that has led to a whole bunch of personal relationships with a lot of these people, and you meet interesting people, and you realize that you're blessed in other things that come along the way after you have said yes to something. But at that moment in time, I wouldn't say that my muscle per se. Consciously, I didn't realize that I had a muscle that was strong enough to say yes to things. So, but I did. And I think part of the fact that my initial path of pursuing a career in the direction of business and, it kind of got derailed from engineering to business, whatever, has maybe made me a little bit more malleable to say yes, if you will, because subconsciously, I have been through trials and tribulations. I've taken side paths. And it has kept me at least alive and, and sort of thriving and rich in my experiences looking back. So maybe I was subconsciously ready to say yes to things. But now today, when I look back at that, I realize, no, I have a conscious awareness that saying yes to things that come my way is at the very least going to be an interesting experience. It may have things in store for me that I do not realize. Now, that doesn't mean you just go jump off anything and, you take all kinds of uncalculated risks. That's not what we're proposing here. But for a person to be open to receive, be in that mindset where they are willing to explore something that is unknown because there is value in the exploration of it. And then be able to recognize at the time that opportunity presents itself to them or to you or to me to take that path less traveled. That is an unbelievably rewarding muscle to develop. And we live in a world where the days of working for a corporate giant and putting in 25 years at the wheel and all of that is a secured path to a future, to retirement, whatever. Those days are gone.
Yeah,
those days are over. Okay, and so while society from the right place comes at you, or your parents come at you and say, look, do step A, then do step B, follow this, go get the degree, do it in a field that is basically safe and sustainable, do medicine, lawyer, whatever, and do that, and then you're likely to be safe and secure in your future and in your older years. Those days are kind of over because that is not necessarily a guarantee anymore. So if a person has a bent, a passion to pursue something that's maybe off on a tangent societally, I encourage them to actually pursue it. What would you do today if you knew that you could not fail?
Yeah, you do a lot of things. And I also think that having confidence in yourself, it's amazing how many people I talk to, mainly in athletics that we're involved with on my end, having the confidence in your training and your ability, right? And it's easy to think about in terms of athleticism. Okay, I can go to the track and run 2 miles, so I know I can go race a 2-mile race. But you have to have confidence in your experiences, your training, and your ability in business as well. And I think people don't give themselves enough credit, especially later in life. You see a lot of people hesitant to jump into a career or make a decision because they're fearful of what's right in front of them, but they're not thinking about all the years they've had on the job and all the experiences that they had to get them where they're at today. Well,
human nature, I think, is to undervalue yourself. I mean, that is that is sort of a default setting for a lot of people. Unless you're an egomaniac that basically thinks the sun rises and sets on your backside, I think you're going. You tend to be a little bit more hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And if you were brought up by people that were hardworking and showed you that the benefit of hard work, and you got to put in the time and effort, whatever, you'd undervalue what you actually have acquired along the way. And I really think people need to stop, which is hard enough to do these days, stop long enough to be quiet and really pay attention to what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Okay, I do this to myself all the time. I undervalue myself, even with what we're talking about here. I undervalue myself. I have to continue to give myself a review, if you will, and a reminder, right? And I think that's just human nature to do that. And if you're fortunate enough to have people around you that reinforce that in you and are there kind of when you're kind of a little bit forgetting that, they'll remind you of your greatness. Because everybody has greatness in them, in their own definition of what that is. Everybody has value that they bring that is uniquely theirs. And you got to kind of believe that in yourself. The thing about the seasoning, and this is what we're talking about, and we joked about how I have a beard that has salt and pepper hair in it. Basically, if I shave that off, I lose about $150 off my hourly rate. Yeah, it's a lighthearted way to say that. I look in the mirror every day and I go, yeah, you know the shit that you think you know, and so trust that. That doesn't mean get arrogant about it and stop learning and opening yourself to be getting better, because that is a lifetime pursuit. But people undervalue themselves. And so the first thing that you need to do is stop doing that. Okay? I am reminded right now by a time when I had an opportunity to speak to a class of people at Pepperdine University that were an MBA, executive MBA program. And I was brought in because they were doing a spa project as their class project. Uh-huh. And they were doing it in terms of P&Ls and unique value proposition, how you'd market it, where you place it in the business. It was a sales marketing class, I think it was, by a friend of mine who was giving it. And I ended up doing is sharing with them the stuff that we do, which is very much a business consultancy when it comes to our approach to interior design. And they're all watching and listening. And this guy that's feverishly writing in the corner. He's writing every single thing I'm saying. And I'm like, dude, I know I don't have that much interesting stuff valuable to put down on a piece of paper, right? I mean, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're writing your shopping list, but I mean, it was almost distracting, actually, Jim. I'm doing this and I'm looking at him, and he's feverishly writing. And so when it was done, I asked if anybody had any questions, and who do you think's hand went up? His hand went up, like shot up. And he goes, how do you be creative? That was his question. How do you be creative? And it threw me. I think fell back a little bit to the wall where I was standing, because I didn't have an answer. And I subconsciously or reactively responded, and I said, well, you might as well ask me how I breathe. I just do. I couldn't tell you how to be creative. And then a light went up in my head, and I turned around and asked the class the question. And I said, and these are executive MBAs, so these are people that are working. They are older people taking the class. And I said, how many of you consider yourself creative? I mean, I figured everybody who has an Apple phone or an iPad on their thing is a genius creative, right? I mean, that's how it's sold.
Right,
but,
sure.
And I'm teasing, but I thought, how many people of you at this point in your life actually think you're creative? Probably two hands sort of shyly rose at the back of the room. Uh-huh. And then I turned around and I said, okay, if I ask that same question to you, and I know you have young kids, I said, if I asked that same question to you when you were in middle school, how many of you would say to me that you are creative? Almost every hand in the room went up. Mm-hmm. So here's a perfect example of when you are unencumbered and younger, where you are open to pursue things that may not fit into the regimented what I should do to be a mature adult. What paths I should take, what decisions I should make. You are open to basically being nonlinear. You're open to circular thinking. You're open to creative solutions and pursuits. And as we get older, we need to remind ourselves not to lose that.